In this video, I'll be covering 5 things that you need to know about what causes autism, so by the end of the video, you'll know it all. Coming up. Hey, I'm Dan. I have autism, OCD, ADHD and dyslexia. I make weekly videos on autism and Asperger's, so make sure to hit that subscribe button to see more. So in the video, we're going to be covering like what doesn't cause autism, because there's a lot of stuff about that out there, and the kind of stuff that potentially could cause autism or could be the causing factor for autism. We'll also be covering what science currently knows about autism and some stuff that may actually surprise you. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Asperger World. If you're not already a part of the Asperger World fam, the most accepting family on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And yeah, just it's summer here right now, so let me know what the weather is like where you are, because it's super hot, super summery here in the UK, and I'm loving it. So I guess before we actually cover the possible causes and the definite not causes of autism, maybe I should go over a little bit about what autism is. So autism is a condition that affects quite a lot of people around the world. I think it's on every single continent now. It doesn't actually favor anybody from any specific gene pool or any specific racial background. It's just something that happens and it's an occurrence in life. I myself have an autism spectrum condition called Asperger Syndrome, which is my diagnosis, but it's part of the autism spectrum conditions right now. And a lot of people like to put different functioning labels to autism, like high functioning, low functioning. All that stuff is kind of a bit taboo at the moment in the community, so we don't really talk about it like that. But basically it means that people have difficulties with communication and social communication with social interactions. That is the main bottom line of it. So it's a developmental thing, so it does happen when you're super young. You may actually have some autism spectrum conditions that aren't really diagnosed until people are later on in life, due to possibly the geography of their mental health board or the medical industry around them may not be up to date. And you can have people who've been diagnosed from little children. And now, no matter what the diagnosis, everybody on the autism spectrum has some similarities, and these similarities are that communication, organization and social interaction. These are all big issues that face people on the autism spectrum, and that is kind of like autism in a nutshell. It's more common to hear about children with autism because obviously there's a lot more up-to-date information about diagnosing people with autism for children, but not as much at the moment for adults, because obviously they're trying to just get up to date with everything first, and the children get the first thing brand new because obviously they're learning new things and new people coming up and new ways of diagnosing from an earlier age. They are the first test point. So that's why you may have heard of a lot of children being diagnosed with autism, but not as many adults. But I just want to make something super clear that, and this is a great phrase, if you've only ever met one person with autism, then you've only ever met one person with autism, because everybody is so individual and so different. Although we share common traits, we are individual and we are different, so not two people are exactly the same. So please don't try and think that maybe if somebody has an autism diagnosis that they aren't like the other person you know with autism, and that's completely fine. It doesn't mean that they are any less autistic, or it doesn't mean that they are not on the spectrum because they're not like somebody else that you may know of. But this is something to always remember. Oh, also check it out, my skateboard up here, I got that from YouTube, so hey, thanks YouTube, VidCon was awesome. So I'm just gonna go over some light statistics on autism. So currently I live in the UK, and here in the UK it's about 1 in 100 people have an autism spectrum diagnosis, or it affects and impacts the lives of 1 in 100 people, which is quite a fascinating number considering the amount of people that do actually live here. And it's becoming, you know, there's that whole argument about if it's becoming more popular because, you know, is there an epidemic of autism? And I'll share kind of like my view on that in a minute. So in the US, actually it's 1 in 68 people have an autism spectrum diagnosis, and this is again a growing number because it used to be 1 in 88, now it's 1 in 68, and again it's not down to the fact that there's an epidemic. In my opinion, I believe that actually we're becoming a society that are more open to the fact that people have these conditions, and we are able to diagnose them effectively now because of the advancement in technology and the screening processes, so that everybody has the ability to be properly assessed and then properly diagnosed officially. And I think this is why we're seeing an increase in the diagnosis. I don't think that we're having an explosion. I think we're picking up the people who have been left behind, or who would have been left behind through a process that didn't really treat it fair for assessment. Okay, so I said I was going to talk about what causes autism. Now, I'm going to first start off and talk about what doesn't cause autism. Okay, now about a year ago I did a video talking about vaccines, and a lot of people talk about vaccines, and there's a lot of budget gone into science in certain sectors and certain people who look into seeing or trying to find a link between vaccines and autism, and does the vaccine cause autism. Now, lots of studies were done, but the actual evidence isn't there. There's no evidence to support the fact that vaccines cause autism at all, and also the scientific evidence that did back against it is very, very sketchy and in a grey area. So not a lot of support went into that side of it, but the science that's come out since then has said that, you know, vaccines don't cause autism, and it's a dangerous thing if we tell ourselves that vaccines do cause autism, because this could lead to all kinds of crazy problems. So just remember that it's not the vaccines that are causing the autism, in case you may have heard this theory. Oh, and one last figure on autism. Currently there are statistics out there that say that males are 3 times more likely to have an autism spectrum condition than females. Okay, so again, what doesn't cause autism? A lot of people say that pollution in the environment are causing autism, and of course they use this to say that the epidemic of the linear kind of increase in people with an autism spectrum diagnosis is caused by things like pollution. Now, a lot of tests have been done, and yes, pollution causes a lot of issues, especially in the human body, and the biology isn't there to support the fact that we do pump out a lot of pollutants into the atmosphere and into our lungs and our brains, but these studies conclude that pollution doesn't cause autism. You know, it's not something that is caused by an environment, and it's not something that's caused by pollution. Now, there's a lot of speculation and people saying that it's down to dieting. Like, if you have a really bad diet and a poor diet and you're not getting enough nutrition, then your offspring may have autism or may develop autism. And something that is quite interesting about that is there was a study done that showed that males who are obese showed higher chances of having a child with an autism spectrum condition, but I'm not sure that this correlation is actually right, and the scientific community doesn't have any conclusive evidence to say that diet and poor diet and things like that actually causes autism. So this again is something that doesn't really cause autism. So that being said, another question on everybody's lips is, Dan, I mean, come on, what does cause autism then? What is the big reveal? How can you stand there and tell us all these things that don't cause autism, but I've been waiting for the past 7 minutes to find out what does cause autism? So here we go. In fact, the actual answer, the very, very sharpest answer you can get from a scientist, is that they don't really know. There is no actual known reason for the condition of autism to arise in somebody, completely outside of anything that anyone can really grasp. But one thing that does correlate, and this is the closest you'll get to any kind of answer in this specific field, is that scientists have concluded that some autism spectrum disorders diagnosed in people are actually hereditary through genetics. So sometimes they say it may be gene related, not 100% certain, but it could be gene related. Now, I don't know if this is the most true way to look at it. Again, I find it very, very random, and none of the scientific evidence out there really concludes anything, and the top scientists will always say they just don't know. Not that there's a lack of study doing on it, there's a lot of people doing studies on autism to find out if, you know, they can find the cause of it, but currently there's just nothing there that they conclusively say this is a direct cause of autism. So if anybody tells you that autism is caused by this, this and this, there's actually no scientific data or no data really to support any theory other than the fact that they don't really know. And in conclusion to this, a lot of people think that, I think one of the biggest ones is vaccines, because a lot of people put kind of money behind this and they promote all this stuff, but it's actually misinformation and it's misguided information. A lot of people fall down this rabbit hole and they're trying to search for answers because it's easier to look for an answer than to just accept that it's a random occurrence and that you don't really know why. A lot of people want definitive answers, and I know that. And being on the spectrum, I love to have definitive answers and everything black and white, but unfortunately on this occasion there is no black and white, and it's very much a mystery at the moment. But saying that, I don't think that it's completely impossible to figure out what will cause an autism spectrum condition in people. I think that we're not scientifically advanced enough to understand that, and our medical industry isn't equipped to understand that yet. But I think maybe one day we may find out that. And of course, there's these people that go around saying, oh, you know, autism can be cured. I mean, like, what? What are you talking about? These people are crazy. There's actually a big movement of people who try to say that there's autism cures and they found the cure for autism. Again, this is a complete and utter bogus fact. there is no cure for autism that any scientific body can ever come up and support. There's no known cure. So with that being said, there can't be groups of people saying they know how to cure autism because the scientific community doesn't even back this idea. So don't get fooled into thinking that is something that is apparent. So, that being said, I'll see you next time, guys. Peace.